let's take a moment to talk about our sponsor.
You're a new DM who wants to jump behind the screen. Maybe you've been volunteered by your gaming group, but aren't quite ready. You've been watching people play games online or on podcasts, and you're thinking to yourself, where do they come up with all that descriptive narrative? There's no way I can do that. Well, don't worry. We've got a solution for you. What if I were to tell you that I can put a team of professional writers alongside you at your desk while you're prepping your game? Sounds pretty good, huh? With Describe, we can do just that. These narratives vividly describe monsters, places, spells, people, you name it. It's there, and there are more than 6,000 of these easy-to-search up, copy, and pastable, beautifully written narratives right at your fingertips. Confidently read these narratives aloud in your campaign and impress noob and veteran gamer alike. And the best thing about it is, the library of narratives is constantly growing, and it's affordable. Describe has graciously provided us with a discount for our listeners. Head on over to describe.com/DMD. That's DSCRYB.com/DMD. Use the code DMD at checkout to try Describe for 2 weeks for free. Links will be in the show notes.
And now, back to the show. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening, Master Lou.
That's how you're supposed to start off, Scott.
So this begins our short series on D&D campaign starters. Sure, you could start at an inn or a tavern, but isn't that a bit overused? Lou's going to throw out a campaign starter. Bill and I are going to work out a few of the rough details on the campaign, and the rest is up to you, DMs.
Your PCs are in a caravan or on a boat when they are swallowed by some massive creature. They are shipwrecked, stranded inside this thing. They find a whole world to adventure in while they try to figure a way out.
Well, first off, you have to sink the boat.
Yeah, and I figure the boat would probably sink when Rosie O'Donnell consumes it.
Wow.
Sorry, Rosie.
She's not herself without a Snickers bar.
She's...
Thank God.
This episode was sponsored by Snickers. No,
not really.
No. That'd be awesome if it was, though.
Oh, yeah.
So swallowed by, let's do some massive creature and a caravan, like some big kaiju thing.
Why don't we do a caravan of boats?
That's a big thing that's swallowing the caravan of boats.
Okay.
I mean, that's okay, but.
Well, there are some awfully massive creatures. We got those giant, turtles that are turtle dragon that's kicking around. They would be big enough to swallow 2, 3, 4 boats.
Yeah, we'd have to homebrew something big.
All right. So, yeah, we'll homebrew a kaiju-esque creature.
So it swallows up the caravans of boats. Of course, there's going to be a lot of calamity when that happens, right? Boats are going to smash into each other. There's going to be a lot of screaming. There's going to be a lot of stuff being strewn about, flotsam and jetsam, if you will, and then they have to make their way out of the stomach. But while they're there, they find that there's been a lot of things swallowed and generations of people living inside the belly of this beast,
waiting for another blessing from the beast, because if they've been down there for generations.
Yeah.
Who does it say that the gullet of this thing isn't like a pocket dimension?
Yeah, how else would, something swallowing a caravan of ships, right? It's got to be either big or it's got to have a huge appetite. And what better than it to be like a portal into a pocket dimension?
Yeah.
Maybe a creature that designed by a bored wizard in his lab, and then it started to get a little too big for the aquarium, so the wizard went out to the ocean and just dumped it in there, and there it got pretty big and started
something
eating
else
stuff.
will eat it. There's a lot of nasty things in the ocean,
but nothing did.
Nothing did.
And now here we have it. And
that explains why they couldn't hack their way out.
Yep.
It's a living creature, and the inside's usually, stomach acid or whatever, doesn't matter. There's usually a soft enough spot where you'd be able to do enough damage to maybe get vomited up or something. But if you're in a pocket dimension, you get swallowed and you get flushed out of, say, it gets spewed out of a whirlpool or maybe a waterfall or something like that. And there is no egress. You're just here.
You have to find a more creative way to get out. Maybe there's another portal somewhere. But these people have lived here for generations, right? So they may think that there's some sort of benevolent deity that's throwing like buckets and buckets of fish at them to keep them fed.
Every once in a while, wood would come down to build their structures. It's already it looks like it's been a little rough, but hey, it just got spit out of a whirlpool. So it's real easy to see how it could get busted up. But there's a lot of wood, and a lot of it's already pre-milled and planed, and there's crates and barrels of other things. Every once in a while, the guy just doesn't send fish; he sends a bounty of things.
People.
More people.
More people, like chickens and goats and cows, and so many rats, but they're good eating. There's a professional rat catchers. There's a lot of rat on the menu. A lot of rat on the menu.
Street kebabs.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yep.
And of course there's the occasional wicked thing. That's out in the woods. I imagine there being a landscape of sorts, because there would be all manner of there'd be seeds and the whatnot that would be swallowed. So over hundreds of years, you would have trees. You would have a layer of soil built up. It would be sparse probably, but it would be like a wilderness that's just starting.
And very few people to spoil it, so it has enough chance to catch root and build. I could see this built around a stream or a small river, large stream, small river. What comes in, hopefully at some point goes out, but water's being drawn off for irrigation. The people need the water. Maybe they have this incredible tolerance after generations for salt water.
Yeah.
Where you're going there, it's like, here, have a glass of water.
This is nasty, but they're like,
yeah,
it's good electrolytes. And then they would have to find their way out, right? So there would be no discernible portal in. So they would have to figure out, all right, this stuff comes in through some sort of portal periodically.
Mm-hmm.
We have to time the portal, but then, maybe they go in and they realize, well, now we're in the mouth of the sea creature, so we're going to be bobbing up and down in the middle of an ocean. That's a poor choice. Or they would have to find another portal elsewhere or figure out a way to open one up.
Right.
Maybe there's a soggy, wrinkly library. There's books and pages from books, but there's nothing really complete. So if you have someone who's educated, a historian or someone who knows arcana, they would have to be put to the task of trying to figure out how to escape from this place.
From the bits and pieces of the people who've attempted and somehow made their way back, but each one had a little bit more information. But that's all they could act upon it until someone put it all together. So the entrance and the exit may not necessarily just go downstream.
And maybe
that'd be too simple.
Maybe there's two different cultures there. There's the initial culture that the PCs encounter, and they are, agrarian. They're fairly gentle. They're the rat catchers and stuff like that. And, they're
just trying to go day to day.
Yep. And then there's the ones that deviated from that group or broke off years ago, and they're more predatory. Maybe they're not quite as human as they were before, much like the Eloi and the Morlocks from A Time Machine. So you have these other antagonists there. So now while you're trying to find your way out and discover if there's a way to open up another portal somewhere, you have to contend with these marauders, these cannibals abducting these people that
who may actually be protecting the way out because they don't want everyone to leave.
Right, because that might be a food source.
They're getting a bounty just as well. The more people that show up, the more they can take.
What do you think of that, Lou? How do we do?
2 thoughts came to my mind.
Okay.
when you guys were first sharing your story makeup, first thing I thought was Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters, when that big monster swallowed everything up. Then another one was, I think it was Scott's table. It may have been yours. I can't remember exactly which one of you were running this, but we were inside of a giant worm that had people living in it.
Yes.
And so I can relate to that, and that was an adventure in itself because we did have to figure out how to get out of. They were already dead, I believe, and we had to try to figure out a way out because we didn't know it was just a dead worm in the beginning.
Right.
And not a small one. These things were massive. They were the sand deserts, sandworms. I like it.
All right.
And that's episode 1 of our DMD short series, D&D Campaign Starters. We'll see you next time in the dojo. That's going to conclude this episode. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Please subscribe to the podcast for more great content. If you'd like to hear a particular topic, you can reach us on Facebook at the Dungeon Masters Dojo, or you can drop us an email at thedungeonmastersdojo@gmail.com. Thank you, and have a good day.
You can support the Dungeon Masters Dojo in some very simple ways. Be patronizing, like Lou, and become a patron on Patreon and unlock exclusive patron content.
Or if you're like Scott and long-term commitment is an issue, you can buy a Sasaki, shop our merch page for DMD swag, or use our Drive-Thru RPG affiliate link next time you shop Drive-Thru RPG.
Or visit us on the web at thedungeonmastersdojo.com. There, you'll find links to all the above. Don't forget to email us and say hello.
Thanks for listening.